The new president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, has vowed to put climate at the heart of her presidency. She's been presenting her promised Green Deal in Brussels. The plan will commit the EU to achieving climate neutrality by 2015. And DW's Catherine Martins spoke to one climate policy analyst and has this report on some of the potential obstacles.
More trees throughout Europe and more sequestering of CO2. That will be the first step. But Europe wants much more. It will need radical restructuring.
We need enormous investments in the energy sector. We need to transform our mobility sector. We need to transform our food system. And we need to ensure that our euros are being spent to make these sectors future-proof.
Along with flying, shipping is one of the worst climate killers. Engines on the high seas run on crude oil. When it gets burned, even more pollution is created than with diesel. But so far, ships have been allowed to sail without CO2 certificates. Now the EU wants to change this. In the future, shipping will also be included in the emissions trade, a challenge for all member states.
The biggest challenge I do see is with the ambition of member states. All of the EU member states are subsidizing fossil fuel projects in various different ways. We have a long history of giving exemptions for diesel, kerosene for aviation. These should be the low-hanging fruits that if we really are serious about this transition, we remove harmful subsidies.
But that costs money. In order to pay for the so-called Green Deal, the EU wants to redistribute funds, less for farming and infrastructure, more for environmental protection. This is already controversial. Poland, Hungary, and the Czech Republic, economically underdeveloped states, have been blocking this plan.
We discussed about the EU budget. Money is not being put into modernizing the budget, at least as the current proposal stands. This is not a budget for the future. We have a goal that 25% of the EU budget would be spent on climate action. What is done with the rest 75%? If that is being spent on harmful practices for climate, we don't achieve our goal.
The EU is a climate leader. Ursula von der Leyen has set a fast pace. Whether other member states want to follow will perhaps ultimately be a question of financing.
Well, with me here in the studio is Tatjana Miller, spokesperson for climate justice and international politics at the Rosa Luxemburg Foundation. And we're so happy to have you here with us to talk about the Green Deal. But before we do that, I want to get a quick reaction from you. We just heard, of course, Greta Thunberg received the title of Person of the Year from Time magazine, the youngest recipient ever. Your reaction to that?
I think it's great that people are aware of Greta and of the climate justice movement. But Greta and the young generation climate don't need awards, they don't need recognition, they need material climate action and they need a future. So I think great with an award or recognition, but we need material action.
Let's talk about material action. Yes. The EU is planning to put its money where its mouth is. EU Green Deal, is it ambitious enough?
No, not at all. It's got three problems. First of all, it's a set of targets, and targets don't reduce emissions. Greta herself said a 2050 target is completely irrelevant. I can say I can put a family on Mars by 2050, and nobody will care because it's 5 legislative elections down the line. Secondly, it's a growth strategy. And growth, capitalist growth, created this problem. You can't grow your way out of a problem that was caused by growth. And thirdly, and last point, it's a fairy tale. It perpetuates the illusion that we can both maintain our high growth, high speed, high production, high wealth lifestyle in the global north and still save the climate. We have to make a choice, and the Green Deal does not make that choice.
OK, so it doesn't make that choice. Let's talk about, OK, they're trying to do something. They're trying to reduce their carbon footprint.
No, they're saying that they're going to reduce their carbon footprint. And if targets reduced emissions, then the Paris Agreement, which said we're going to keep warming to 1.5 degrees, would have already saved the world. Look, I live in Germany here, and Germany has for long portrayed itself as a climate leader, but it isn't. It isn't world leader in renewable energies. It's world leader in burning soft brown coal, which is the dirtiest of all fossil fuels. Europe isn't a climate leader. Its wealth is based on exporting lots of things like, for example, cars that destroy the climate. Really, the Green Deal seems to be more pretending to save the climate while actually trying to save the economy.
So what should they do?
Well, for example, stop building liquefied fossil gas infrastructures all over Europe. There's massive EU Commission projects to expand infrastructure to burn another fossil fuel, so-called natural, but actually fossil gas. They could, as the colleague on the television said, stop subsidising fossil fuels. They could cap car production, but instead they're giving us more targets which honestly don't save the climate.
Okay, thank you so very much, Tatjana Miller. We run out of time. From the Rosa Luxemburg Foundation, greatly appreciate
Thank you very much.
Your take on the EU Green Deal. Good to have you.
Thank you.